This remarkable tale, which commenced in 1977, astounded the world with its resolution 34 years later. A young mother disappeared with her 6-month-old baby after going to a nearby store, leaving no trace behind. It took several decades for the truth to come to light, revealing that such convoluted plots are not confined to the realm of fiction. The tale commenced in the sunny American state of Hawaii in early 1977. A young couple, 26-year-old Mark Barnes and 31-year-old Charlotte Moriarty, welcomed their son Marks. It appeared that a bright and carefree future awaited the family amidst palm trees, sunshine, and the vast ocean. Mark worked as a veterinarian, and Charlotte was an artist. Despite not being married, the couple showered their child with love and provided him with the best of everything. Before meeting Mark, Charlotte had been married and had a daughter who stayed with her father in New Mexico after the divorce. Charlotte maintained contact with her daughter and made an effort to visit her whenever possible. Fast forward to June 21st, 1977. On that day, Mark had been working on the property since early in the morning, planting Charlotte's favorite flowers around it. Charlotte expressed her desire to walk to the store so as not to distract Mark from his work. She decided to take her son with her. She placed him in the stroller and left. Several hours passed. Mark was so engrossed in his work that he didn't immediately realize Charlotte should have returned by now, as the store was only a few blocks away. After waiting a few more hours, he decided to walk to the store in hopes of meeting Charlotte on the way. As he stepped away from the house, he saw his son's empty stroller standing near the bus stop. Neither the child nor Charlotte was anywhere to be found. It would seem that he should have gone to the police immediately after that, but Mark didn't. As he explained later, Charlotte could sometimes go somewhere for a few days unannounced and then return home. The man decided that this time would be no exception. It sounds strange enough that if Charlotte had gone out alone, Mark's logic could still be understood, but she had taken her 6-month-old baby with her, abandoned the stroller in the middle of the street, and seemed to have vanished. 2 days passed, but Charlotte never showed up. Then Mark decided to call the police, and they advised him to wait a few more days. What if the mother and the baby still made it back home? So he did. 2 days later, he reached out to the police once more. This time he provided a detailed description of Charlotte and the child, and they assured him they would begin a search. However, after that call, Mark never heard back from anyone, and the whereabouts of his girlfriend and son remained unknown. 3 weeks went by. Mark decided to visit the police station to inquire about the progress of the search. To his surprise, he was informed that they had not received any calls from him. The police claimed there was no record of Mark reporting the missing lady and child over the phone. Consequently, no investigation had been initiated, and no efforts were made to locate them. Throughout this time, Mark insisted that he had contacted the police twice. The authorities insisted that they had no record of any calls being made. It's unclear who is telling the truth, but both scenarios are plausible. If the police did indeed neglect to search for the 6-month-old, they could have been in serious trouble. Cases involving missing infants required immediate action from law enforcement, even if only a short period had elapsed since the disappearance. Therefore, it's possible that the police deliberately concealed the fact that they failed to search for the baby. The father's actions also raised questions. Why did he wait a few days before contacting the police? And did those calls actually take place? Even if he did reach out, why did he wait an additional 3 weeks before visiting the station? During that time, he didn't even follow up with the police to check on the progress of the investigation. During his conversation with the detectives, Mark mentioned that Charlotte might have been struggling with mental health issues. In the 1970s, mental health treatment was not as advanced as it is today, so she never received proper care. Neither of them sought medical attention, despite there being valid reasons to do so. Mark was deeply troubled by Charlotte's mysterious behavior after giving birth. He couldn't fathom why she would walk around the house blindfolded, unable to provide a logical explanation. Concerned for her well-being, he even considered seeking medical help. However, When Charlotte finally removed the blindfold and returned to normal, Mark decided to put the strange incident behind him. The possibility of mental health issues arose when Mark mentioned that Charlotte's daughter's canceled visit to Hawaii had greatly upset her. Strong negative emotions can trigger mental disorders, and this could have been a contributing factor to Charlotte's disappearance. Despite extensive efforts by the police, including opening a case and distributing flyers, Charlotte and her son remained missing. Mark's relentless search for them over the next year and a half proved futile, leading him to eventually relocate to California. With no evidence to go on, the police had little hope of finding them. 24 years passed, and Mark had resigned himself to never seeing Charlotte and his son again. However, in 2001, there was a surprising development in the case. Charlotte's daughter from her first marriage, Jennifer, jetted off to Hawaii and made her way to the police station. She managed to persuade them to reopen the case of her mother's disappearance. The detectives consented, input Charlotte and Mark's details into the missing persons database, and crafted a digital portrait of Mark's as he aged based on his childhood photo. The detectives' first move was to question Mark due to his peculiar behavior at the start of the investigation. The old documents made no mention of the man calling the police station 2 days after the girl and child vanished. It stated that he did not show up at the police station until 3 weeks later. This led the detectives to suspect that Mark might have been involved in their disappearance. Despite 24 years passing, the police attempted to locate any witnesses who lived near Mark and Charlotte's residence. Most of the residents had already moved, but the detectives were fortunate to find one elderly person who had lived there at the time. He remembered Mark and Charlotte and shared an interesting detail with the detectives. According to the pensioner, the couple frequently argued, and he overheard them shouting. The detectives then concluded that the case was nearing a resolution, and Mark was indeed guilty. He was summoned for questioning and informed about the witness who had heard his regular arguments with Charlotte. Mark did not deny that there had been verbal altercations between them. He also challenged in his right mind to prove his guilt and offered to undergo a polygraph test voluntarily. The results were inconclusive. The experts who analyzed the test could not definitively determine whether the man was guilty or not. A polygraph is fundamentally an unreliable tool. It is not capable of definitively indicating whether a suspect is lying or not. Numerous factors can influence its results. It can mistakenly indicate the truth or falsehood. In case an innocent individual displays extreme nervousness during questioning or deliberately withholds crucial information, the polygraph test may inaccurately label them as dishonest. Mark's situation was no different, as the polygraph yielded no useful results. However, the detectives opted to approach the investigation from a different perspective. They secured a warrant to search the residence where Charlotte and Mark resided in 1977. Of particular interest was the recently constructed terrace following the disappearance of the girl and child. Speculation arose that Charlotte may not have left the premises that day, but instead could have been harmed by her husband during a dispute and buried beneath the terrace. The sequence of events on that fateful day, including the involvement of an infant, remains unclear to law enforcement, leaving them with no alternative theories. Despite forensic examination of the backyard and terrace, no evidence of human remains was discovered. It is uncertain whether the current homeowners were compensated for the 2 days of excavation. Acknowledging the lack of leads, the detectives temporarily shelved the case. As a final effort, DNA samples were collected from Jennifer and Mark in the hopes of future breakthroughs. The case remained dormant for a decade until a surprising conclusion unfolded. Steve Carter, a 35-year-old from Philadelphia, had long questioned his origins. Raised in an orphanage and later adopted by a wealthy New Jersey couple, Steve cherished his adoptive parents but always pondered his early years. In 2011, he stumbled upon an online article detailing the remarkable tale of Caroline White, abducted from the hospital at just 19 days old. Decades later, Caroline stumbled upon missing children's websites and came across her childhood photo. To her horror, she realized that her current parents were the ones who had kidnapped her from the hospital. This shocking revelation prompted Steve Carter to start researching similar sites. Upon entering his birth information, he was left speechless when the first result displayed an adult photo of him, created by artists based on a baby picture. The resemblance was uncanny, leaving Carter frozen in shock. It dawned on him that he was the missing Marks Barnes who had disappeared in Hawaii with his birth mother. After gathering his composure, Steve decided to undergo a DNA test facilitated by a missing child search service. The database contained DNA samples of Mark and Jennifer, collected by the police a decade earlier. 8 months later, the results confirmed a perfect match. Steve Carter was indeed Marks Barnes. The police swiftly reopened the investigation. The missing infant had been found 34 years later, yet the circumstances surrounding his disappearance remained a mystery. However, not for long. His birth certificate played a crucial role in unraveling the puzzle. Firstly, the certificate was issued a year after his birth. Secondly, his name was Tenzin Amia, with his mother identified as Jane Amaya. This information enabled the police to connect the dots, as the name had surfaced in reports shortly after Charlotte and the child vanished. A peculiar call was received by the police. A woman reported that a lady with an infant had approached her door seeking milk to feed the baby. Concerned about the girl's well-being, the police intervened and took her to a psychiatric clinic for assessment while the infant was placed under the care of authorities. This lady turned out to be Charlotte. After spending a few days in the hospital, she managed to escape discreetly and vanished without a trace, leaving the child under the care of the state. Due to the absence of a birth certificate, identifying any relatives seemed like an impossible task. Once the truth was revealed, the community was left pondering a perplexing question. Why didn't law enforcement connect the dots between the lady's disappearance and the abandoned baby, especially when the infant was placed in state custody? The answer to this enigma remains elusive. It is plausible that the police were unaware of the girl's disappearance, as the cases were handled by separate precincts. Steve, who had since established himself in a prestigious career and started his own family, took the bold step of reaching out to his half-sister and biological father. Their astonishment was palpable when the man disclosed his identity. The notion of the infant still being alive was met with skepticism, although the fate of Charlotte remains shrouded in mystery. The conclusion of this tale can be deemed a happy one. Statistics dictate that the likelihood of locating missing children after such a prolonged period is virtually non-existent. However, the saga of Marks Barnes stands as a rare exception. Raised in a loving environment, he flourished into a prosperous individual. It is plausible that Charlotte was grappling with a severe mental ailment. The incident in question occurred in Rockdale, a village situated in the state of Illinois, just a little over 40 miles west of Chicago. On May 13, 1997, a seemingly ordinary day unfolded in Rockdale, Illinois. The scorching sun bore down on a construction site where heavy machinery and workers were diligently clearing debris and waste from a dusty landfill. Amidst the hustle and bustle, Kevin P. McGowan, an archaeologist from the University of Illinois, was meticulously sifting through layers of trash and debris, hoping to uncover hidden artifacts or historical remnants. Little did he anticipate stumbling upon something as shocking and disturbing as what lay before him. As he carefully examined the layers of debris, his trained eyes caught sight of something peculiar. Nestled within the dusty landfill in Rockdale, Illinois, was a bone unlike any other in the pile. With a surge of excitement, he delicately extracted it from the debris, his heart racing with anticipation. Covered in dirt and grime, bearing evidence of its long-forgotten existence, the bone held a mysterious allure. With a gentle touch, he cleaned it, unveiling its true form and size. The bone seemed to narrate a tale of its own, whispering secrets of a bygone era. However, upon closer inspection, his initial excitement turned to dread as he realized that it was a human bone. The archaeologist, accompanied by his assistant, had inadvertently stumbled upon the remains of a human body. According to authorities, the discovery was made around 10:15 a.m. on September 3, 1978, several hundred yards northeast of Mound Road and Moen Avenue on the outskirts of Rockdale. The shocking find reverberated through the dusty landfill in Rockdale, prompting a swift call to the sheriff's office. Subsequently, law enforcement swiftly responded, transforming what began as routine archaeological research in an unincorporated Joliet township into a full-fledged investigation upon the unearthing of human remains. Upon arrival, the police swiftly took control of the area, initiating their investigation with a sense of urgency. It became evident to the investigators that they were faced with a tragic case of homicide. The individual responsible for burying the body underground had clearly intended to conceal it from the world, leaving behind a disturbing and inhumane act. The unceremonious burial hinted at the cruelty inflicted upon the victim. The discovery of only one bone indicated that the victim had been dismembered, with the remaining body parts scattered elsewhere. Determined to uncover the truth behind this abhorrent crime, the investigators embarked on their quest for answers. The gravity of the situation weighed heavily upon them, but they were prepared to confront the challenges that lay ahead. The revelation sent shockwaves throughout the community, prompting law enforcement officials to launch a comprehensive investigation. Who was the deceased individual, and how did they come to be buried in the landfill? These were the questions that occupied the thoughts of everyone involved. The investigation would prove to be far from easy, requiring years of tireless effort, numerous interviews, and the utilization of cutting-edge scientific advancements to unravel the mystery. The officers stood around the partial remains of the body, their gaze fixed upon the gruesome sight, a mixture of curiosity and concern evident in their expressions. It was clear that something had happened to the rest of the body, leaving the officers to wonder about the whereabouts of the missing body parts. Swiftly securing the scene, detectives were summoned to delve deeper into the investigation. Armed with their experience and expertise, they hoped to uncover any additional skeletal remains that could potentially provide crucial clues in solving this macabre crime. Amidst the debris and wreckage, the investigators meticulously combed through the layers of brick, stone, and wood within the construction landfill. As they delved further, the chilling and gruesome nature of their discoveries intensified. Skeletal remains, shattered and fragmented, emerged from the wreckage. The origin of this debris was traced back to the Rustcraft building, a colossal 3-story structure with a complete basement that once dominated the Joliet skyline. The investigators were well aware that they faced a challenging task as they delved deeper into this bone-chilling discovery. In the realm of forensic investigation, pathologists are the skilled professionals who meticulously examine the human body and its tissues to unravel the mysteries of death. However, when it comes to unidentified remains, authorities take a slightly different approach. Instead of a conventional pathologist examination, the remains undergo an anthropological examination. This captivating field involves the study of human skeletal remains to determine age, gender, ancestry, and other characteristics that can aid in reconstructing the identity of the deceased. With only partial skeletal remains recovered, piecing together the clues and unraveling the secrets was a formidable undertaking. Nonetheless, they managed to glean intriguing insights into the life of these enigmatic bone fragments, offering a glimpse into the past and potentially uncovering some secrets surrounding the person's premature demise. From mere bone fragments, pathologists were able to assemble captivating details about the unidentified individual on October 14, 1997. The bones belonged to a woman who was estimated to be in her youth, somewhere between the ages of 15 and 24. She stood between 5 and 5'10" tall. Despite the incomplete nature of her remains, these details allowed them to envision what this young woman might have been like in life and sparked a sense of curiosity about her untold story. Without any known identity, the person whose bones were discovered was given the name Rockdale's Jane Doe. Forensic pathologists were unable to determine any other distinctive features about her appearance. Was she fair-skinned or olive-toned? Did she have auburn hair or jet-black locks? The woman's secrets, much like her own existence, were concealed beneath the earth, lost to the passage of time. Despite the scarcity of details, the pathologists persisted in their pursuit of answers, fully aware that even the most minute piece of information could hold the key to unraveling this enigmatic case. Delving into the timeline of events, the investigators were struck by a poignant realization. It appeared that the unidentified woman had lived and perished in the years preceding the demolition of the Rustcraft building in 1986. What kind of life did she lead during those turbulent times, and what circumstances led to her premature death? The world was undergoing rapid transformations, marked by technological advancements, cultural shifts, and political unrest. Was she a mere observer of these changes, or was she struggling to navigate through the chaos? Contemplating these inquiries, the investigators couldn't shake off a profound sense of sorrow for the woman whose fate had concluded in such a tragic and enigmatic manner. Upon further exploration into the history of the enigmatic building from which the remains were unearthed, the investigators stumbled upon a wealth of intriguing information. It was revealed that this ancient edifice had served as a hub for various businesses since its establishment in 1907. Once a grand factory, the structure met its tragic fate in 1992 when a devastating fire ravaged it for 2 relentless days, consuming everything in its path. The flames soared high into the sky, challenging the valiant firefighters who battled tirelessly to contain the blaze. Despite their heroic efforts, the once majestic factory was reduced to a mere shadow of its former self, serving as a somber testament to the destructive force of fire. Prior to its demise, the factory had become a refuge for the local homeless community. Although far from secure, it offered shelter from the elements to those who had nowhere else to turn. However, it was widely acknowledged that the city had a dark underbelly, plagued by criminal elements lurking in the shadows. As the dust settled and the city officials assessed the situation, they realized swift action was imperative. The once towering factory had transformed into a potential hazard, endangering anyone who came near. With a heavy heart, the decision was made to demolish the building. Yet the question remained: what should be done with the resulting debris? A stroke of brilliance provided an answer. The wreckage would be meticulously cleared, leaving behind an empty expanse where the factory once stood. However, instead of discarding the remnants, they were repurposed. The basement of the factory became a repository for the remains, serving as a solid foundation for future endeavors. Upon further investigation, it was discovered that in 1995, a peculiar decision was made to relocate the building's remains to a new location in Rockdale, where bone fragments were subsequently found. The theory that the woman had been killed elsewhere and buried in this spot gained credence when the pathologist revealed that the body had been disturbed not once, but twice after death, indicating the presence of someone at the original factory site. This unsettling revelation only deepened the mystery surrounding the woman's demise. In 2009, a glimmer of hope emerged when Will County Coroner Patrick K. O'Neill assembled a dedicated team to seek justice for the forgotten victim. The cold case unit embarked on a painstaking journey, meticulously reconstructing every aspect of the case. Over the years, they conducted forensic anthropology studies, extracted DNA, and entered it into the extensive National Missing and Unidentified Persons database. They tirelessly searched for a match in the Federal Bureau of Investigation's combined DNA index system. The team even enlisted the aid of a specialized unit within the Federal Bureau of Investigation to create a facial reconstruction of the unknown woman, utilizing the latest in technology. After thorough investigation, each lead was diligently followed up on and eventually ruled out, resulting in the team being left with more uncertainties than solutions. Collaborating with Othram, a forensic DNA sequencing laboratory, the Will County Coroner's Office embarked on a mission to unravel the enigmatic cold case of Rockdale's Jane Doe on June 8, 2022. Equipped with state-of-the-art technology and an unwavering resolve to crack this enduring puzzle, the team commenced their endeavor. Despite previous unsuccessful DNA testing endeavors that had dashed hopes of a breakthrough, the Will County Coroner's Office remained resolute and even provided financial backing for the fresh round of testing. Armed with advanced forensic DNA testing capabilities, the team was resolute in their determination to solve the case definitively. Through a successful crowdfunding campaign that garnered additional resources and community support, the team was finally able to advance their inquiry. The stakes were high, and the team felt the weight of the pressure, yet they were prepared to go to any lengths necessary to bring closure to this long-standing enigma. Kristen Middleman, Othram's Chief Development Officer, recognized the significance of identifying perpetrators or victims of crimes, a feat that Othram successfully achieved in this instance. The experts at Othram were resolute in their mission to crack the case, understanding that cutting-edge DNA testing was the linchpin to unraveling the mystery surrounding the unidentified woman. Leveraging forensic-grade genome sequencing technology, they extracted crucial genetic data from the skeletal remains, enabling the construction of a comprehensive genealogical profile. However, this was merely the initial phase. With unwavering determination, Othram's internal genetic genealogy team meticulously delved into researching the family lineage to generate a lead for law enforcement. The laboratory managed to identify a potential match of relatives. The long-awaited moment had arrived, the breakthrough in the case that held the promise of bringing closure to this perplexing mystery. While the investigation was still ongoing, this significant development infused them with renewed hope. Cold case investigators, upon receiving the leads, diligently conducted interviews with numerous individuals in Illinois, Texas, and California. After years of meticulous investigation, the answers they sought finally materialized. Utilizing Othram's advanced DNA testing, they identified a man named Chris O'Brien in California, whom they believed held the key to unraveling the enigma surrounding the unidentified woman. Swiftly, cold case investigators from the coroner's office made their way to Chris's residence, where they interviewed him and made a startling discovery. He had a sister whom he had not seen since 1984. Could this missing sister be the very same unidentified woman they had tirelessly searched for all these years? To find the answer, they collected DNA samples from Chris O'Brien and sent them to Othram Labs for further testing. The subsequent kin-SNP testing confirmed that Chris and the unidentified woman were indeed half-siblings. At last, they had found Chris's long-lost sister, thanks to the unwavering dedication of law enforcement and the cutting-edge technology provided by Othram. On March 3, 2023, after 26 years of being an anonymous victim in a cold case, the woman discovered amidst the ruins of an Illinois factory in 1997 finally received a name: Marie R. O'Brien. Born on July 16, 1966, in the charming town of Aurora, Marie was a cherished daughter, sister, and friend to those who knew her. Her elder brother, Chris O'Brien, was a figure she admired and loved deeply. Although her life was tragically cut short, Marie's memory will now endure with dignity and warmth as her loved ones can finally lay her to rest, finding solace in the closure they have long sought. Marie R. O'Brien was a bright and cheerful student at Golden Rule Charter School, where her outgoing nature and friendly demeanor endeared her to many friends. However, her trusting disposition often raised concerns among those who held her dear. Marie R. O'Brien was known for her unwavering trust in strangers, a quality that may have ultimately led to her tragic fate, as described by her elder brother, Chris O'Brien. Despite Chris's persistent efforts to reach out to her after 1984, Marie vanished without a trace, leaving a void in the lives of those who knew her. In the community of Aurora, Marie was regarded as a true gem, a compassionate individual who always prioritized others. From a young age, her talents were evident to all, particularly her undeniable passion for art. Her paintings were not only breathtaking, but also treasured by their recipients. However, Marie's generosity extended far beyond her artistic abilities. She was always ready to lend a helping hand, and her selflessness served as an inspiration to those around her. It comes as no surprise that her friends and family adored her infectious warmth and charming personality. Although Marie's time was tragically cut short, her legacy lives on through the lives she touched with her kindness and creativity. Yet, the case remains unsolved, leaving Marie's loved ones with lingering questions. Who was responsible for taking her away from them? As they patiently await justice, they hold on to hope that the perpetrator will be apprehended, bringing them the closure they desperately seek. For Chris, Marie's older brother, the wait has been excruciating. Each day he ponders over who could have inflicted such harm upon his beloved sister and why. Nevertheless, he remains resolute in his determination to see the case through to its conclusion, bringing solace to Marie's memory and justice to her name. The search for answers persists, and the family's trust in the investigative team remains unwavering.